They may not have material riches, but they are wealthy in cultural traditions and knowledgeable in the ways of life. They may appear frail and weary, but they are agile, fit, and strong. They may not have the highest levels of formal education, but they bear markers of great sophistication. They may look old and stern, but they are young at heart and playful of spirit. They may come across as unskilled, but in fact, they are ingeniously dexterous. They live in the most basic of houses, but they have the most complex of homes and family systems. The paradoxes of their lived reality are many and fascinating.
Come with us as we take an extraordinary peek into the multiple realities of the diurnal lived experiences of Ghanaian artisanal fisherfolk as it filters through the music that accompany their work.
Fishing as an indigenous occupation among Ghanaian coastal dwellers dates to days before recorded history. According to the most pervasive oral historical account among the fancy fishing communities, the art of fishing was introduced by the legendary Eric Eric Debrah Otchere,
a giant who is believed to have been one of the commanders of the ancient Egyptian army that pursued the Israelites during the biblical Exodus.
The legend has it that he couldn't go back to Pharaoh after losing his army to the Red Sea. He therefore made his way down across the Lake Chad, through Benin City in Nigeria, and further down to the coastal region of southern Ghana, where he finally settled upon finding an inordinate amount of fish, particularly the stingray, which is locally called the morele, in the local coastal waters. He became the first chief fisherman and taught the fishing art to the locals. He is believed to be among the founding fathers of the current coastal town, Mori, which got its name from morele, the stingray fish.
Although the story has a lot of loose ends, as do many oral histories, the consistency of the narrative across the different fancy fishing communities, as well as the statues of Eric Eric Debrah, which have been mounted in such coastal towns as Apam and recently Winneba, show the power of the fable.
The fact, however, remains that fishing is one of Ghana's oldest indigenous occupations.
For centuries, music has been an integral part of the work of the indigenous Ghanaian artisanal fishermen who populate the shores of Ghana's southern border, the northeasternmost part of the tropical Atlantic Ocean, also known as the Gulf of Guinea. Along the approximately 528-kilometer stretch of coastline, there are about 200 small communities with occupants approximating a tenth of Ghana's population, whose major indigenous livelihood revolves around fishing activities. Example, fishing, canoe making or carving, fish processing, among others, and who contribute about 5% to Ghana's total agricultural gross domestic product. These communities are distributed across 4 administrative regions that lie along Ghana's coastal line. Volta region, which shares a border with neighboring Togo. Greater Accra region, which seats the capital of Ghana. Central region, which was the colonial capital town of Ghana, and Western region, which shares a border with neighboring Ivory Coast, from east to west, respectively.
Within each of these regions are distinct dominant ethnic groups whose language and cultural forms reflect clearly in the style and repertoire of their songs. The dominant ethnic groups in the regions from east to west respectively are the Ewe, the Ga, the Fanti, and the Inzima.
It is clear up to this point that the music that is employed in the context of the working fisherfolk vary not only in terms of their style, but also in terms of their utility. The music not only serves as mere accompaniments to their work, but also as an unparalleled medium for the negotiation of individual as well as collective identities and a potent resource for cultural articulation.
Oh, but there is more, much more. Let's take a closer look at some of the key functions of the music in the context of the work of the fisherfolk.
Among other things, the music of the fisherfolk provides reference points for coordinated activity, which increases productivity.
See how the sound helps to synchronize the efforts. In this way, they exert their individual energies in a coordinated manner, and the cumulative effect is greater.
It serves as a practical distraction from potential setbacks such as tedium, lack of focus, the effluvium of previous day's catch, and helps them shake off sand through the accompanying movements, as well as clapping of water from the ropes to minimize the occurrence of blistering and reduce pain.
The music also draws potential help and buyers to their camps.
It helps them to vent bottled up emotions.
Most often than not, such content is born out of actual happenings in the community.
It helps in establishing traditional peace-building mechanisms for settling disputes and repairing relationships.
Through songs, they emphasize the value of forgiveness and community.
It expresses their belief systems and general worldviews. Such beliefs as in the omnipotence of God, the existence of other gods, the preternatural, the certainty of death, life after death, reincarnation, the possibility of being harmed spiritually by others are variously stressed through songs.
It gives them room to critically reflect on their sometimes erratic work and to fantasize about other possibilities and alternative realities. Will life be better somewhere other than here?
It serves as grounds for learning real-life lessons through the sharing of experiences. These help them to keep their spirit together, to cope with hardships and hope for better times.
The music helps to encode the histories of the people for education. Several songs contain didactic messages for the acculturation of their young and for reinforcing value systems. The praises of heroes are also often captured in some of these historical songs as well.
Furthermore, the music aids in the enactment of community codes on such pertinent subjects as gender and masculinities. Well, do men and women play equitable roles in the fishing communities? Well, I guess some men will disagree to this. But there are always exceptions.
Gender is one of the pressing themes that reflect in the songs of the Fisherfolk. It reinforces the gender roles that exist in their households. It is indeed a male-dominated space.
Interesting indeed. Other subjects that are highlighted include power, marriage and divorce, inheritance, belief systems, religion, and the like.
Through song, the Fisherfolk air their views on sensitive issues, a critical tool for resistance.
Not long ago, Ghana made headlines in a lot of the major media websites and the major news items about agitators and about people who were not in favor or in support of passing a bill that will support and promote LGBTQI rights in Ghana. And if you look at the interviews and the discussions, of course, you will not, as always, hear the voices of the Fisherfolk in many of the mainstream news and all that. But through song, they also show that they are very much aware of this. But as very conservative people as they are, the whole idea of alternative sexualities is very foreign. And so they sing about this. For them, the natural biological binaries of maleness or femaleness as we are born, these binaries should translate into the gender roles. So you are either man or woman and nothing in between. And this should also translate into sexual orientations. So everything else beyond these binaries is unheard of. And they unequivocally show this in their singing. And they state, without mincing words, their resentment of that.
Through song, the Fisherfolk also encourage each other, reprimand wrong behavior, and lift each other's spirit.
A very important use of the music is that it provides an avenue for spontaneous creativity. Creativity occurs in many forms. For example, through sporadic dances, converted musical frames.
Now let's consider the melody in this short tune.
Oh, money no they come, yo, money no they come. Come. Money no they come. Money no they come every day, man, no tire. Aye, money no they come, money no they come.
Now let's compare that to this very identical tune with different lyrics. Yet another set of lyrics with the same tune. It shows clearly that creativity occurs in the text or lyric substitution, semantic conversion, code switching, or language alternation.
Repudiability or multivocalic signifiers, adoption of popular musical forms, rhythmic variations, melodic alterations, and so on. Beyond all these, the music reflects a deep-seated emotional connection to the ocean. If you want to say something to God, tell it to the wind, they say. The ocean, with its winds and tides, waves and suns, breath and death, power and grandeur, flow and ebbs, histories and narratives, tranquility and hostility, shades of colors and vistas, vagaries, and a host of other attributes provides the perfect example of the lived realities of the people, the different phases of their lives.
Edina Branye, Edina Branya, Edina Branye, Edina Branya. Insuka soti dan wada bosumbu. Branya
The ocean reflects and mirrors what they go through daily. Talking to the ocean then is like pouring out your heart to a non-judgmental friend who truly understands your situation. They may not have the solution to your problem directly, but you always feel better and lighter afterwards. As the saying goes, "Esubontin biara wie pumu," literally meaning all rivers end up in the ocean. By extension, they pour themselves and the content of their hearts to the ocean. Since the ocean brings people to the shores every day, someone might end up being the key to another's problem.
It is a widely held belief that the ocean can carry messages from one shore to their relatives and loved ones at another shore. Beyond the physical world too, the ocean can carry their messages to departed relatives in the yonder world.
The meaning to this song is simple. The writer of this song is trying to tell us that when his father died, he buried him. When his mother also died, he buried her. This has left him thinking of what to do next. Since both parents are dead now, he's now left an orphan.
Music is the means through which they talk to the ocean about their situation, their fears, anxieties, aspirations, and hopes. Through music, they create and inhabit various spaces, mental, physical, creative, and expressive, among others.
Now, let us turn our attention a little and talk about what the music actually is, in terms of its aesthetics and non-referential meaning.
It is worthy of note, right from the outset, that structurally, the music is as varied as the people who perform it. In this documentary, therefore, we have only captured the dominant traits that cut across the different musical styles.
Overall, it is safe to say that the structure of the songs appear to be largely simple.
It is understandably so, considering the context of its usage. It is meant to encourage as much participation as possible without any prior rehearsals. Each day's performance, therefore, may be considered a rehearsal to the performance on a subsequent day. Because the songs are deployed in the context of collective coordinated activity, timing and rhythm are key features of the music.
This explains why it is common to find people whose designated role is to provide rhythmic timelines while others pull on the ropes. It is commonplace to find the use of castanets, banana bells, double bells, or just improvised metal pipes for rhythmic accompaniments. On other occasions, a slab of bamboo or other wooden clappers may be used. In rare instances too, specific high-pitched drums may be used, or the rhythms may be played on the side of a canoe. In the absence of these regular or makeshift instruments, intermittent hand clapping may suffice.
In some instances, there is an implicit sense of time that guides their movement rather than a strict, obvious metrical accent in the music itself. This implicit sense of time may sometimes be gleaned from the synchronization of the leg movements, which, because of the loose sands at the beach, hardly make any sound at all.
Rhythmic organization here dwells on some principles of both implied and metrical contrast. Metrical ambiguities and cross rhythms are commonplace. Musical structures are created in which rhythmic disagreement or actual clash of accents appear normal.
Another prominent way in which rhythmic points for coordinated activities are provided is using short, repetitive, non-lexical vocalizations. That is, words that do not have any specific dictionary meaning. Others have often referred to such sounds as nonsense syllables. These are usually modifications and extensions of the usual vowel sounds, such as A, A, O, and so on.
Talking about repetition, It is noteworthy that repetition is another very glaring characteristic of the fishing songs. Not just repeated responses within a particular song, but repetition of the entire song. Because most of the songs are generally short and the accompanying activity takes hours to complete, songs may be repeated several times before they are changed. Every now and then, a song that has already been sung may rear its head again after a couple of songs have been sung in between.
The repetition does have its own usefulness. It enhances memorization and predictability, allowing multiple performers to engage in long periods of coordinated music making. Knowing also that extreme repetition can lead to boredom and to a dearth of memorable distinguishing features, they creatively balance repetition and novelty in the form of varied repetitions. With every repetition, there is some modification, either of melodic lines, insertion of additional words, withholding certain parts, rhythmic alteration, harmonic variation, and so on.
Perhaps the most apparent and ubiquitous style of the fishing songs, like other work songs, is their tendency to be antiphonal, employing both call and response as well as canter and chorus styles. These antiphonal structures frequently exist simultaneously on several different architectonic levels. The chorus parts are often sung in unison or harmonized in thirds or sixths, with occasional cadential voice splits.
Through the creative mixture of the different musical elements and the kaleidoscopic range of dramatically contrasting qualities of sound, there is a tendency to create a high density of musical events within a relatively short musical time frame. A tendency to fill up all the musical spaces.
The use of well-timed ad-libs, witty interpolations, overlapping rhythmic phrases, interlocking pitches, and the collective spontaneity are some of the remarkable attributes that transform the otherwise stylistically simple tunes into a beckoning medley of multivocal pairs.
No wonder fishing songs have found their way into the repertoire of other musical forms.
Another very interesting feature is the incorporation of the physical body motion as an integral part of the music-making process. The sound produced by the clapping, as well as the synchronized movement of their legs and the hands, all appear to be components of the music which are essential to the structure of the song. The music, then, is not simply accompanying the work, but the work becomes the music, and the music becomes the work. Occasionally, some break into an actual dance. Other workers do not consider this as lazing about, as it is a manifestation of the close link between the sounds produced and the bodily movements.
For the most part, the songs bear unmistakable identities of the dominant ethnic group of the performers at any point in time. This notwithstanding, inter- and cross-ethnic musical influences are also visible. Having had to work together along the same shores for all these years, this stands very much to reason. Besides, migration among the fishermen along the shores is quite common. Musical influences are often seen in the use of multiple scale patterns, melodic lines, harmonic structures, and most importantly, in the mix of languages used in the songs. The most recurring languages in the fishing songs are Akan, mostly Twi and Fanti, Ewe, Ga, Nzima, English, often broken English, and rarely French. While most of the songs are in one specific language or the other, a few songs combine different languages.
For example, let us consider this song, which combines French, Ga, Nzima, and Ewe.
What has been presented here, however, are what appears to be the common stylistic features which run through the music of the Fisherfolk.
Having given a description of some of the pervasive characteristics of the fishing song, and knowing the myriad of functions the song plays, even in the context of work, let us consider the content of the lyrics. Here, we look at what the music says in terms of its symbolic and referential meaning.
The content of the songs will further shed light on some of the functions of the music, which were mentioned earlier on.
It is important to acknowledge the fact that the construction of meaning from the song text is a very complicated and delicate activity.
The language is generally cryptic and indirect, employing several figurative expressions and literary devices such as metaphor, proverbs, euphemism, allegory, anthropomorphism, imagery, irony, sarcasm, juxtaposition, and intended ambiguities, and many others.
The songs are enriched with figurative expressions and literary devices. Let's look at how metaphors are used within the songs. Let's take this song, for example. Eric Eric Debrah So let's take a look at how the fish, Erefua, is described within the song. They compare the skin of the ewule to one of the most durable and expensive cloth within the Ghanaian setup, kente. That shows how the skin is so durable, so heavy, so expensive, sort of. And again, they look at the eyes of the ewule, which shines very brightly under sea, especially during the night, and so they compare it to the torchlight. The tail is again likened to the fan. That's the fan, the normal fan that they use during cooking processes. These are but few examples of literary devices and figurative expression that enrich the language of the songs of the Fisherfolk.
These features speak volumes to the richness and sophistication of their language. But it also presents a few challenges to the outsider who wants to truly understand the text, as the surface is constantly disrupted by metaphors or symbolic modes which often extend the frame of reference beyond the immediate context of their work.
Apart from the linguistic and literary structures, they have developed a peculiar sub-language of their own, the Fisher's tongue. This sub-language carries most of the lexical words of the dominant language of the particular fishing group. Example, ever, gan, fanti, or inzima, and a very high number of borrowed words which appear to be the result of the years of code mixing among the fishermen. The larger distinctive feature of the Fisher's tongue lies more in the manner of articulation than on its lexicon. Even when one recognizes the dominant language being spoken, the manner in which they mention the words and structure the phrases make it difficult to understand, even if one is a speaker of that dominant language but does not belong to the fishing.
In general, many words sound muffled. Consonants are attenuated or elided. Words are deliberately used in contexts which are incongruous to the regular language, and many of the borrowed words are misappropriated, so that even when you recognize a language from which the word was borrowed, the words may not necessarily mean the same thing in the Fisher's tongue. Interesting, right?
The language of the fishermen is impossible to understand for people who are not part of their community. You might hear what they say, but you might not understand what they mean. They have used their language to create a safe space for them in which they are not judged by other members of the external community. In this way, they have created jargons to suit their own lived experience and use it to work in their workspace.
The Fisher's tongue gives them agency, expressive power, and much-needed privacy in a public space. Through the ability to manipulate symbolic meaning for their own purposes, they can streamline the recipients of their messages, communicate among themselves without undue interference, make comments on sensitive issues, and so on.
They often create multivocalic texts in the songs, ones which can have possible different interpretations, so that in the rare case that they are taken on for something they said, they can repudiate or deny any meanings that might cause inconvenience, embarrassment, or even serious political complications. Their voices on national matters are hardly heard. The unique language and the music offer them the space to comment on topical issues from perspectives which are often missed in mainstream narratives.
Setting aside the inherent difficulty in making meaning from the Fisher's tongue, one cannot deny its beauty. The structure and organization as it appears in the song texts are very rich and poetic. The analogies, the metaphors, the proverbs, the ambiguities are all features that make the music exciting and fascinating. In many cultures, the use of proverbs and other figurative expressions has been regarded as a sign of wisdom and intelligence, signaling a high level of sophistication and advancement.
recurring broad themes in the songs of the Fisherfolk include, but are not in any ways limited to, the following: poverty and hardship resulting from injustice, corruption, and unfair distribution of resources.
Love, marriage, childbirth, divorce, inheritance, and family systems.
Belief in God, gods, witchcraft, and alternative worlds.
The power of forgiveness and peaceful coexistence.
The value of indigenous products, life lessons, and knowledge systems.
The hypocrisy of imported religions and state institutions.
The fleeting nature of life, vanity, death, and life after death.
The value of life, contentment, entertainment, ridicule, and the celebration of heroes.
Perspectives on power, gender, sexuality, and sexual orientation.
Mystery and beauty in nature.
The need for cleanliness, decency, and a healthy lifestyle.
It comes across clearly from the broader themes discussed that very few of their songs are actually about the work of the Fisherfolk. The songs serve as an unparalleled source of information about every aspect of the lives of the Fisherfolk.
Talking about every aspect of their lives, we have already hinted what the ocean means for them and how they show their emotional connection to the ocean through song.
In closing, let's recapitulate some of these. For example, they believe in the ocean as a source of life. When they sing songs that call on the dearly departed to return to them, they actually believe that the ocean can make it happen.
The shades of colors of the ocean, as well as other attributes, reflect the various phases of their life. The ocean then gives them the inspiration to forge on, knowing that no matter how much it rages, there is always a calm.
The ocean holds aquatic life, which is the principal source of their livelihood.
Important beings with power to help or harm them dwell in the sea. This explains the prayer they say along the pouring of libation and other rituals they perform to the ocean.
The ocean is seen as boundless and bountiful. It inspires endless possibilities for creativity and imagination.
They do not just work along the shores of the ocean, they also live there. The shorelines are their primary turf.
They use the water from the sea for many different purposes. Example, medicinal, absolution, cleansing, and spiritual.
The ocean offers them a means of transport from one community to another, sometimes beyond the boundaries of Ghana, and even beyond the boundaries of the physical world.
The importance of the music, coupled with the symbolism of the ocean, bring tranquility in a rather chaotic and uncertain world.
Sisimbom, tabunumbom, sisimbom, tabunumbom, eya the wire. Sisimbom, tabunumbom, sisimbom, tabunumbom, eya the wire. Apari one tabunumbom, panetro, sisimbom. Sisimbom, tabunumbom, sisimbom, tabunumbom, eya the wire. Sisimbom, tabunumbom, sisimbom, tabunumbom.